what's happening, y'all? I'm back at you again with another vid. Well, I had to sit back and watch this whole Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez negotiation battle unravel. Okay, so it all stems from the post-fight in-ring interview that Canelo had conducted, or actually Max Kellerman had conducted with Canelo Alvarez after his knockout win over Liam Smith over the weekend. And Max Kellerman was badgering Canelo with with tough line of questioning here about his reluctancy to take on Gennady Golovkin. Well, not more so on his part, but more so on his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy. And Canelo said, look, I'm going to defend my promoter no matter what, but the bottom line is this. Sorry about that, y'all. I was a little bit sidetracked. But the bottom line is this, is that last month, we gave him an offer, which is 3 times more than when he initially had offered him, and he declined the offer. He declined the fight. So when that came about, social media pretty much had a bit of a shitstorm after that. They were like, whoa, what's going on here? Gennady Golovkin turning down a big offer of a fight. So based off that triple the amount that he was asking for, the speculation was that he was going to get a neighborhood over $10 million, maybe a little bit more, a high 8-figure payday, which Golovkin's never seen before. And along with that payday, he was going to get a pay-per-view revenue share, which was an undisclosed amount. And when Abel Sanchez and Tom Loeffner was asked about it, Abel Sanchez very, very evasive and vague answer, and which he admitted that they were offered such a lucrative amount, which eclipses the initial amount that they were offered. They turned it down. Okay, and then Tom Loeffner was questioned about it. He denied that they rejected such an offer, which I find very laughable, because within the same sentence, he said that, we never rejected such an offer. However, what I find very puzzling is that I thought the negotiation process between both camps should be kept private. It would not be discussed within the media. All right. But yeah, he had a problem with the fight date that was within the offer of the contract that Canelo sent over to Golovkin. The scheduled date, if Golovkin had agreed to the flat fee offer, the fight would have taken place next year for September. And a lot of Golovkin supporters were very outraged about that. They felt that's ludicrous. Why the hell should Gennady Golovkin wait till next year to take a big fight with Canelo Alvarez? Anything can happen in between those 2 times when those 2 guys are going to take interim fights in between. Well, let's just sit back and just calm down and come down to be rational for a minute, okay, guys? Let's not pretend that this has never been done before. This is not unprecedented, okay? Let me remind you that Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev agreed to take interim fights leading up to their big fight back in 2015 of October. When Andre Ward had re-signed a multi-fight deal with HBO, one of those fights included a showdown with Sergey Kovalev for the following year, which is this year coming up in 2 months, okay? Now, Duva and Kovalev were informed about that deal. They didn't have to agree to it. They could have said, look, why should we agree to letting Ward take 2 interim fights before we fight him? Why can't we just get 1 interim fight? But for whatever reason whatsoever, Kovalev and Duva agreed that Ward and him will fight the following year, and they'll get 2 interim fights in between. And they both got through their interim fights, and they're going to fight in November. A big fight that I can't wait to see. They finally got it done. Okay? So if Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev can agree, or actually Sergey Kovalev more so, can agree to fight Andre Ward, which is, to give him 2 interim fights in between along with himself, then why can't Gennady Golovkin do it? I don't know. Is it that Tom Loeffner doesn't have confidence in his fighter to get between those interim fights? I don't know. Okay, let's just not pretend it hasn't been done before, okay? Now, moving along here. Now, the other argument here is that Golovkin should not be taking a flat fee. He should be getting a 60-40 split, getting a 50-50 split. All right, this is comical because Gennady Golovkin doesn't have the buy rate nor the drawing power that that warrants him to get a 60-40 split or a 50-50 share. Okay? Which reminds me, because Loeffler sent a counteroffer, which I find laughable, because he initially denied that he rejected a flat fee, which is an 8-figure offer from Golden Boy, and now he sends a counteroffer, which includes a 60-40 split within the structure of Mayweather-Pacquiao, in Mayweather, kind of a Mayweather favor type of deal, and he gets a big share, a lucrative share of the pay-per-view revenue. Okay, so let's go back to Golovkin's record. Okay, first things first, he doesn't have the buy rate power. Okay, because we seen that when he did the pay-per-view, when he headlined his pay-per-view, his first and only pay-per-view in the U.S. against David Lemieux, it drew, the actual number was 97K. I initially thought it was 150,000 because when I first initially reported it, I defended Golovkin in that situation because I felt that HBO had broken even, given that both fighters' purses weren't that really high, okay, on a normal scale. But when it turned out to be actually 97,000, they did flop, okay, and HBO lost a lot of money on it, and they had to restructure, and they're still restructuring at this point because of that pay-per-view flop, okay. And since then, Golovkin has not headlined a pay-per-view in the U.S. However, his last fight, he did headline a pay-per-view over in the U.K. against Kell Brook on Sky Sports. But that only drew 500,000 buys. That's only an estimate. And the number that I heard, the rumor mill, is that it could be a little bit lower than that. It could be roughly around, 380,000, 400,000 buys, roughly. But if you want to have any more information on that, please let me know in the comment section below. So, and plus, his resume is not stacked with talent, okay? The only talented fighter that he beat on his resume is Kell Brook. That's it. He doesn't have a resume that he's beaten lineal champions or pound-for-pound fighters. He doesn't have that. So, Gennady Golovkin and his team, Tom Loeffler, must understand that they are not the quote-unquote A side on the part of the negotiation process. Canelo Alvarez is. Let me tell you why. Because Canelo Alvarez was fighting on pay-per-view cards while he on the undercards of pay-per-views, and he headlined, a few. He's been headlining pay-per-views after the Mayweather fight. Yeah, he had one non-pay-per-view fight after Mayweather, which was against Kirkland. That drew over I think it was 3 million views on HBO. That was pretty staggering. That was very impressive by Canelo. Of course, his last pay-per-view with Lethal Allen drew 250,000 buys, which is a disappointment. However, he drew over close to 52,000 people at the Alamo Dome over there in San Antonio. Wow. So basically, Canelo can fight anybody, and he's going to get people to come see him fight. That's the bottom line. And yes, he is the A side of the negotiation process because he has beaten lineal champions, okay? You can say what you want about Shane Mosley. Yeah, he fought on over the hill Shane Mosley, but he is a lineal champion. He's on his resume. He got Carlos Baldomir, which we all know that's the worst lineal champion in history, but he was a lineal champion. He had beaten Austin Trout. He's beaten, he's got Canelo Alvarez. I mean, not Canelo Alvarez, I'm sorry. He got Miguel Cotto on his resume. All right? A former lineal middleweight champion, a multi-division champion. Now, he got him on his resume. So Canelo has the power. He has the resume. He has the buy rate power. He has the buy rate power. He has the buy rate record. Golovkin doesn't have neither one of these things that I've laid out. Neither one. Let's talk about numbers for a second. Miguel Cotto. All right? Miguel Cotto headlined 4 pay-per-views before he got his big payday against Floyd Mayweather. He got a guaranteed $8 million plus a revenue share. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but he got a revenue share. I think it was a little bit under 8 figures, a little bit under $10 million, but he got a revenue share plus his guaranteed $8 million. But prior to that, Miguel Cotto beat an undisputed champion, Zab Judah, a linear champion, a linear unified multi-division champion, Shane Mosley. He beat Antonio Margarito, a unified and linear welterweight champion, Ricardo Mayorga, Joshua Clottey. His resume was already stacked. Cotto's resume was already stacked, and he had the drawing power. He was one of the big stars, pound for pound. So in his situation, some would argue, yeah, he should have gotten maybe a 60-40 split from Mayweather, but he didn't get it. He only got $8 million, which was his biggest payday at that time, plus the revenue share. So why in the world would you think, and this is to the Golovkin fans, the extreme Golovkin fans, I should say, Why would you think your fighter should be even guaranteed a 60-40 split? Given that Miguel Cotto didn't even get that. Let's continue. Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez got a 25% split from Miguel Cotto when he fought him. He got a $5 million guaranteed payday plus the lion's share revenue. Miguel Cotto got $15 million. So, and Canelo's already had a pretty somewhat impressive resume. I'm sorry, he had an impressive resume before he fought Cotto. So why, again, this goes to the argument, what makes Golovkin think that he's entitled to the split that he wants, or Loeffner by that matter, while he's not the A side part of the negotiation, while he doesn't have a record to show for that? He doesn't. Let's be realistic here, okay? Bernard Hopkins versus Oscar De La Hoya. Bernard Hopkins was the lineal undisputed middleweight champion of the world. Oscar De La Hoya was the WBO middleweight champion of the world. Okay? Yes, it was not the recognized belt back then. However, De La Hoya was already a multi-division lineal unified champion. Okay? He's beaten all the pound-for-pound fighters that he's came across. He's beaten the Pernell Whitakers. He's beaten Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. He's beaten the Rafael Ruiz. He's beaten who else he's beaten? He's beaten the Fernando Vargas. He's beaten the Ricardo Mayorgas. He's fought a lot of top tier competition. Yes, some people felt he got robbed in the first Shane Mosley fight. Yes, but he fought him. Okay, he's fought all these pound for pound fighters. And De La Hoya at the time was the humongous cash cow, and he had the buy rate record to show for that. And that's the reason why what justify him to be the A side of the negotiation process. While Hopkins, his only big win or big fight prior to that De La Hoya fight was against Felix Trinidad, who was also a cash cow. All right? But Hopkins understood the situation and said, look, I'm still not the A side of the negotiation process here. I only got one big win against a pound-for-pound fighter, Felix Trinidad, I think he was rated number 1 pound-for-pound at that time, or number 2. So he beat him, so let me beat another guy who's rated number 1 pound-for-pound. That's Oscar De La Hoya. Well, actually, no, Bernard Hopkins was rated number 1 pound-for-pound, but De La Hoya was rated number 3. So let me take this guy out, and then I would have enough room for, I will have enough room to negotiate for a higher split and have things my way and get higher demands. And Hopkins did that. He went in there and knocked out De La Hoya, and then Bernard Hopkins became the quote-unquote A side of the negotiation process when he whatever he partaken in future fights. That's what he did. I'm very disappointed that Gennady Golovkin and this team did not consider those. I consider those factors. Say, look, let's take the $10 million. We'll get a pay-per-view revenue. This is the most money that we can have ever been offered, that we have never seen before from one of our fighters. Let's take the money, knock him out in impressive fashion, and then we can say we're the A side of the negotiation process, whatever fight that we partake. That's what they could do, but they chose not to do it. Now, again, I know they were arguing about that September 17, 2017 date, but let's not get it twisted. It's been done before when fights have been agreed upon a year prior, and then they were scheduled for the following year, which is Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev. Okay, now let's talk. I've also heard this argument that this fight can it will be the second grossest prize fight in history. It can generate over 100 million to 200 million in revenue. Honestly, all I gotta say is, I'm sorry if I'm not being polite here. All I gotta say is, what type of crack and cocaine are you on to believe that this fight at this caliber or this type of lack of magnitude can even generate that amount of money? There's no high interest for this fight. Let's be realistic, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know many casuals who has no idea who Gennady Golovkin is, no idea whatsoever. And they don't watch boxing on a regular basis. But they know who Manny Pacquiao is. They know who Floyd Mayweather is, obviously. They know who Canelo Alvarez is because he fought Floyd Mayweather. That's how they remember him. So other than that, Gennady Golovkin is not a household name yet as you may want to believe. He's not. Okay? He should be lucky and be very fortunate that he's getting an 8-figure payday, which some would argue that he shouldn't even he's not warranted to get that type of payday based off his record. No way. I'm just being honest. And he should have taken the offer. And this is a duck. There's no other way to describe it. I know some are going to say, well, Well, that's not fair. All he wants is a fair split. How's it ducking? Well, it's ducking because you guys. It's ducking because I'm sorry, I'm being sidetracked here. It's ducking because you guys didn't give Billy Joe Saunders the benefit of the doubt when he was offered a big lucrative amount of dollars, which he never seen before from K2, and he turned it down. He counter offered back a higher price tag, and what do you know? He priced himself out. That's a duck. That's the same thing what Golovkin is doing. He's pricing himself out. So you can't have it both ways where you don't, again, I have to say, you can't have it both ways where you don't apply those same standards for one fighter as don't with Golovkin. That's the bottom line. And the bottom line is also that both fighters are ducking each other. Canelo vacating the belt the way he did, that's inexcusable, okay? I don't care if you're going to say that, well, I don't want to, I'll fight him. I'm not afraid of him, but then I'm going to vacate my belt because I felt that a sanctioned body should not be dictating my negotiation process with one particular fighter. No, I'm not buying that. That's inexcusable, okay? So both fighters are not getting passed for me for doing what they're doing right now. They just make the fight and get it over with, okay? Now, for those out there who believe that this fight will make $100 million to $200 million of revenue, that should justify why Golovkin should get either a 50-50 or 60-40 split. No. Do you honestly believe that it can actually generate more money than Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield on revenue-wise? Do you really think it can generate more revenue than Mayweather versus Canelo? Do you really think it can generate more money than, I think, Leonard versus Hagler? Do you really think it could do it by that magnitude? I don't think so. I'll be shocked if it $1 million in revenue. I'll be very shocked, to be honest with you. I think it could potentially do probably, I don't know. I think it could probably do a little bit. I would say a little bit under 40. I would say it'll probably do under 40 in revenue. Okay, if it gets over 40, I'll be a little shocked. I'll take it back. If it does over 40, it's not surprising. But if it gets over 60 million in total revenue, I'll be very shocked if it does. Okay, and all I gotta say is I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out. All I gotta say is use common sense and rational, guys. There's no way this fight is not gonna generate 100 million to 200 million in revenue based off its current magnitude. There's no way. There's no interest for it based off the current pay-per-view landscape. All right, it's not. There's no interest for it. I mean, there is some interest for it, but it's not to where casuals are very appealed to it. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm out. Peace.